Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back. Today we are gonna talk first about my top 5 box mix. I want to say hacks, but they're not. It's not a hack. Anything to do with cooking is not a hack. But anyway, improvements. Let's say they're improvements because I don't know if you guys have tried stuff like this. This is what we're making today, by the way. We're making Betty Crocker's devil food. They always, like, if you make it as is, as a directed, it always kind of tastes a bit, you can tell it's a box mix, you know? So when I make one, my very first thing I always do, like on the back of this one, it says to use water and vegetable oil and 3 large eggs. And then it says underneath that, if you prefer to bake with butter and milk, use these. Always use the butter and milk. Don't use the oil, don't use the water, always use the butter and milk. Add fat, add flavour, done. I know it makes the calories more, but you're making chocolate cake, you're not making a salad. Let's just get over it, okay? My second tip, is add a pinch of salt. Not a lot. It's a whole cake, pinch of salt, add flavour. We're working on flavour right now, so we need to add flavour. My third tip, this. This is the chocolate frosting that comes with a lot of these mixes. And you can also buy it separately. I recommend you do not. But you can buy it separately. And this just tastes like... It's the kind of thing you pull out of the cupboard at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night because you forgot to go grocery shopping for snacks and you're sad. This is what you would eat. Doesn't belong on top of a cake. It belongs in a gas station. Belongs in a gas station. That's where it belongs and that's where it shall go. So don't use these. I know it's much easier than making your own. I know, but come on now. Today I make a ganache, which by the way is still very runny in the fridge, so I don't know if it's even going to work. But anyway, which is minimal effort and you can make it while you're waiting for your cake to cook. I mean, it's more expensive, yes, than using this, but honestly, with this, you could make a really thin icing drizzle or a really thin cocoa drizzle and it would just be fine. You could even, like, because I put fruit in this one, so you could even take the fruit across and make just a coulis or something and drizzle that on your cake and serve it with fresh cream. You could put fresh cream on top, whipped cream, there you go, done. You never need to use this gross crap. It's horrible. That being said, drunk me would so go for this. So I'm going to throw it away so I don't eat it. What are we up to? 4th tip? Always add vanilla. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what box mix it is. Making cookies, add vanilla. Making cake, add vanilla. Making chocolate cake, add vanilla. Making orange poppy seed cake, which I have in the cupboard and haven't bothered with because you actually need cream, butter and sugar together. And I'm like, well, this is a box mix. Chill. Add vanilla. Add vanilla, add vanilla, add vanilla. Always add vanilla. And the last thing, my last tip for these is add something. Add an additive. So, today I am adding frozen raspberries because fresh are $6 a kilo. And it's an absolute waste to bake with fresh fruit. When it's that expensive. Like if it was a $2 apple, fine, let's get fresh apples, whatever. But when it's berries, they freeze really well. You may as well just use the frozen stuff. And as you'll see from mine, they are absolutely packed in ice. I don't know how many times they've accidentally been defrosted, but so you could add a fruit. I would not recommend adding anything too wet, like mango or anything like that, but a berry or apple or pear all works perfect in a cake. Cherries, perfect. it's always just going to bring your cake to the next level. You could also add a bit of citrus. I mean, you could take away a little bit of the liquid. Like this one needs 3/4 cup of milk. If you took, I don't know, 1/4 of the cup and added orange juice, you'd get an orange cake, and add some zest of an orange. Perfect. You'd get a chocolate orange cake. Who wouldn't want that? Or you could add nuts, like you could make hazelnut cake. You could add ground nuts as well. Like if you like only a small amount, don't go crazy. You don't want to dry it out, but you could add that, and you could add a little bit of essence, like almond or something like that. You don't have to just make a box mix and be like, it's done. Anyway, today I am making this very box mix, which is devil's food cake. And I am adding frozen raspberries. We are making a chocolate ganache, which may or may not work. It's still in the fridge, so we'll find out at the end of the video whether it works or not. And I'm going to make a raspberry coulis just because I got the raspberries out of the freezer and they're defrosting. So we're just going to make one of those as well, which is really simple. You just blitz your raspberries in a food processor or a blender with a bit of icing sugar. And you can add a bit of lime or lemon juice if you got one laying around, but it's not 100% important. And it, like when you're making a chocolate cake, it really lightens the heaviness of a chocolate cake. So I really recommend something like that. It's the same with vanilla cheesecake. If you make a vanilla cheesecake and then add a raspberry coulis, it just brings it to the next level. So it's always worth thinking about. Okay, so let's get into the baking side of things. I hope we like this background a bit more than my last background. My computer room is disgusting and ugly and I hate it. But it works. So it's our office space and it's really like, you can see my husband's computer behind me when I'm in there. So I thought we'd come out here and do the yarn wall today. And then we'll get into the baking. So let's go.
Alrighty, first things first, we need to line our baking tray. And this is a fun little way of doing it. Uses less paper. And there's a dog being my mascot as well. Yeah, so you lock that bit in the bottom and then spray the sides, or you can melt butter and rub butter and whatever on it, but I always spray it with spray oil. And yep, we're making the devil food cake. Yes, we're throwing away the icing because no, it's bad. So for this you need 125 grams of butter, 3 eggs, and I think it was 3/4 of a cup of milk, but I can't remember what that is in milliliters off the top of my head. So yeah, I'm also adding a cup of frozen raspberry bits because everything in this packet is broken, literally everything. There is not one whole raspberry in the whole thing. So this is now full of raspberry bits. And once I've finished putting all these raspberries in the cup, I look like I've committed some sort of murder and require washing of the hands. I need to stir that in so that all the raspberries are coated with the mix. It should help with distribution, but probably not greatly. There is a whole myth around if you cover fruit in flour then it will not sink to the bottom of your cake, but I don't believe it. Okay, let's add some eggs, which are kind of icky. I don't know, the shell or something that landed in my thing. think it says extra large eggs, but always let your melted butter cool off a little bit, otherwise it's gonna start cooking your eggs before you want it to. So, and always use full fat milk. Like I said before, we're making a cake and not a salad. At this stage I realise it says that we need to get the electric mixer out. Normally you just stir it all together and it's done and boom, you put it in the oven, but this one you needed to electric mix it for a couple of minutes until it was pretty much, you know, completely combined and mixed together. I think it was just to stop any lumps or anything, since it's not a brownie. I think it's probably brownies that I'm thinking of that don't need mixing, which is the box mix I normally make. I stick with brownies normally, despite the fact my child dislikes them immensely. I'm convinced it related to me. Adding the things I forgot, which is the things that we must add. Some vanilla paste and a little pinch of salt. Yeah, it's like tiny pinch, hardly anything. And this goes in a preheated oven at 160 degrees centigrade. I don't know, that is in Fahrenheit. Don't ask me, we don't have Fahrenheit here. For around 45 minutes. I think, depending on what, you know, fruit or additives you add, it might take a little bit longer. Obviously I used something with extra moisture, so it took an extra 5 to 10 minutes for mine. And the way you test it obviously is you stick a knife or a skewer in it and see if it comes out clean. And if you poke fruit, try again. While that's cooking, you need to, well, you don't need to. If you don't want to make it, you don't have to. I'm not gonna say you have to make ganache, but why the hell not? Make your ganache, which is a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you've got 100 grams of chocolate, you need 100 mils or 100 grams of cream. So I've got about 300 grams of chocolate, so I've put 300 mils of cream in there, and you need to heat that up to a simmer, not a boil, a simmer. I almost boiled mine. While it's simmering or coming to a simmer, you need to chop the chocolate into little pieces, and there's a point here at which I have to do maths and my brain just cannot handle it. It can't figure out how many bits of chocolate I need to make 300 grams. But we get there eventually. Each bar is 180 grams, just for yeah. That's the amount I needed, but I suddenly doubted myself. In fact, I think I've actually still used too much, but I still can't be bothered to figure it out, so that'll do. Despite the fact I've used too much, it's still sitting in the fridge setting, so in fact I've actually banged it in the freezer now, so let's see if it hurries the heck up. You can use any type of chocolate for this. I've gone for almost 50-50 dark milk mix. I always find dark on its own too much for me, and milk is too sweet, so I always do a mix. The only thing that you want to not do is use chocolate chips trying to do this, because they're designed to keep their shape in cookies so they won't melt as well. You can use the ones that are called melts, they're designed to melt, or the bars, that's fine, of cooking chocolate, or your fancy Lindt bars or whatever the heck from the expensive chocolate aisle. But just don't attempt to use the chocolate chips for this, because it'll end badly. There will be tears, and I don't want to be blamed for this. In the interest of less washing up, I'm just putting it back in the cream thing, because I'm going to pour cream over it anyway. I let my cream cool down for a couple of seconds because I almost boiled it, so I just let it chill for like about 30-40 seconds before I poured it on the chocolate, because if you put things that are way too hot on chocolate, you're going to seize it. And then you just leave the cream to sit on the chocolate for 2 minutes, and then you start stirring it. I also added a tiny pinch of salt, not as much as we added to the cake, but it just makes chocolate live, which is why you see an awful lot of salted chocolate based items around the place in shops. Yeah, see, it's starting to melt all the chocolate together. I'm going to pull out a whisk in a minute, because I was a bit disconcerted by the graininess of the melting process. I just wanted it to all emulsify together properly quicker before the effectiveness of the heat of the cream stopped it all coming together. Now the interesting thing about this ganache is apparently once it's completely cold and thick, you can whip it and make it into a stiffer icing that you can even pipe. I don't know if I can be bothered to do that today, but we'll see once I pull it out of the freezer. So I knocked this around until it was completely smooth with all the bits incorporated, because you don't want bits in your ganache. It looks just like hot chocolate. Cake's done, apparently, and there's another dog in the kitchen. This is pretty much my life, is accidentally tripping over animals in the kitchen, and we only have 2 of them. I did need to run my knife around the edge a little bit, because despite the fact that I'd sprayed it with the oil, it was stuck a little bit, but I don't know whether that was to do with the fruit or me being crappy at spraying oil. Are we going to do a bread drop like we did the other day, or are we just going to... Oh, no, we managed to flip it without any disasters like the other day. Which has now been classified as the bread drop. There's a tiny crack, but that's fine. We'll never notice it once it's on a plate. Okay, so we're quickly going to make the coulis. Most of this packet is completely defrosted now. I believe there's probably about 100 grams worth of raspberry mush in there with all its juice. I'm going to add about 3 heaped dessert spoons, because I couldn't find the tablespoon, of icing sugar to that, and just give it a quick blitz and get icing sugar literally everywhere. I'm pretty sure icing sugar is the glitter of the baking world. Every time you turn around there's a bit of icing sugar. Even though you've cleaned it up, there's still icing sugar. I almost never use this processor like this, and I'm kind of annoyed because when I switch it on, commanded is to get juice on the inside of the larger cup, even though it's not supposed to, so that annoyed me. But anyway. This is Bertha's brother Bert. Thickens it a little bit and sweetens it. And there it is, ready to go on our cake later. Done. Alrighty, we are on the home straight. I put this in the freezer for a bit because it was not having a good time, and I'm just whisking it to see if it thickens it up, because it was still pretty runny. In hindsight, I actually wish I'd just poured it over now, but it thickens up pretty nice. It makes a really nice texture actually. See? And it tastes good. So I decide to get fancy and pipe it. Thank you very much, Secret Santa, for my Christmas present, because you made all this mess possible. I couldn't actually find the large ring pieces, which is what I wanted to cover the top of the cake, so I had to go searching. Because you need the right size coupler to hold the giant ones in place, and it was somewhere. I got there eventually with Molly's help. She likes to shove her head in the drawer while I'm trying to find things. And I chose like this weird like serrated looking. Yeah, it looks pretty serious for a piping tip to give a go. I piped maybe 3 times in my life. I'm very much a novice at doing this. I don't think I've ever piped ganache. So this was a lesson. Literally making shit up as I go along, which is pretty much life, really. So all I know is from the TV that you need to squeeze it down to get the air out, which I did not do on the second row, and it farted at me several times. So it makes these kind of pom-pom looking anemone style shapes. I can't think of the flower that they kind of look like, apart from they look like something you find in a rock garden or a cactus farm or something. That's the only way I can describe them. Anyway, I do a bunch of big ones and small ones, and we fill up the top completely because that's as fancy as it's ever going to get with me. I had to fill it up the second time. If you ever do this, I would recommend working really quickly. As you can see, it melts because it's made of cream and freaking chocolate, so it melts real fast. So don't get too fancy, just pipe like your life depended on it. Molly is chasing the fly. I didn't actually, that's how hard I was concentrating. I did not know she was doing that behind me. That's the one that squirted everywhere. You know what, I was pretty getting 70s kind of vibes from this, and I don't know why. But that's the vibe, and that's what's staying. So we filled up the top there with the blobs, and then I did attempt to do something around the side, but it went really wrong. So we gave up on that, and that's the finished product. It looks kind of crazy, but I like it. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this little romp around box mixes, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, and make sure you switch on notifications, because that's important, apparently. Bye!